The Veari people had once been proud masters of the stars. Their ships glimmered like silver comets against the dark velvet of space, and their voices echoed in the grand halls of interstellar councils. They had built worlds, explored new systems, and shared knowledge with countless other species. But that was a long time ago. Now the stars seemed colder to them, emptier. On the orbital station of EpicSciFiTales, the largest surviving Veari settlement, silence dominated. The station hung like a ghost above a dying planet, its lights flickering weakly, its corridors filled with the echo of lost voices. Commander Telion, an elder of the Veari, moved through the halls slowly, his eyes scanning the abandoned quarters. Ships once filled with the laughter of young cadets now sat derelict, their metal shells scarred by neglect and war. "The fleet is gone," whispered a young officer named Marin as he followed Telion into the council chamber. "Only a few ships survived the battles. They are scattered, and most have no fuel or weapons." Telion did not answer at first. He sank into the seat at the head of the chamber. The council hall, once bright with banners and holographic maps, now seemed dim and lifeless. Outside, through the observation windows, the planet below was a gray wasteland. The oceans had receded, leaving cracked basins, and the forests had withered to nothing. "The galaxy has forgotten us," Telion finally said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "We are relics of a time that no longer exists. Every race stronger than us has moved on. Only we remain clinging to ruins." The council members nodded in solemn agreement. Veari had fought many wars, but each victory came at a cost. Their knowledge and technology had been looted by rival species, their planets attacked, their populations decimated. The once mighty civilization now faced the final choice: surrender quietly to extinction, or attempt a last, hopeless struggle. "You know the proposal," said Delira, a bright-eyed counselor who still clung to hope. "We can try to send one last fleet into the outer rim. Perhaps we can find a safe place, a new world to rebuild." Telion shook his head. "The fleet is too weak. The ships can barely move, let alone fight. Any attempt will be met with annihilation. We would be foolish to risk more lives." Another counselor, older than Delira, spoke with a voice like gravel. "We could wait for a savior, perhaps. Maybe another race might offer help. Though, who would notice us now?" The chamber fell silent again. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the fate of a dying civilization. Veari historians had once said that the galaxy was vast enough for all, that the light of every civilization would shine somewhere, but now that light was almost extinguished. Meanwhile, in the lower docking bay, small groups of Veari wandered among abandoned ships. Some checked engines that would never fire again. Others tried to salvage parts for life support systems. The younger generation, born into decay and loss, had only stories of the past to guide them. One of them, a boy named Kale, stared at the remains of a training simulator. "Will our people die here?" he asked softly to no one. A teacher standing nearby tried to reassure him. "Our story is not over, Kale. The galaxy is cruel, yes, but hope has not vanished entirely." Kale looked doubtful. "Hope? What hope is left when everyone has forgotten us?" The teacher did not answer. She only touched his shoulder and moved on, leaving Kyle staring at the flickering lights above. On the surface of EpicSciFiTales, the planet itself seemed to mourn the Veari. Cities that had once stretched to the horizon now lay in ruins, streets cracked under the weight of time, and skyscrapers toppled into dust. The winds blew silently through empty avenues, carrying whispers of memories long past. Occasionally, a lone Veari scavenger would pass through, searching for food or equipment, their eyes reflecting the faint light of the dying sun. In orbit, the orbital station's communications hub crackled weakly. A faint signal, almost imperceptible, struggled to break through the static. The engineers tried to boost it, hoping against hope that someone, anyone, would respond. But deep in the galaxy, silence remained. No friendly ships came, no emissaries arrived. Only the cold void replied to their calls. Telion walked again through the station, stopping at the observation deck. He pressed a hand to the transparent wall, staring at the stars beyond. "How long before we fade?" he whispered. "How long before the Veari are nothing but a memory?" He did not notice Marin approaching until the young officer cleared his throat. "Commander, there is something strange on the sensors. A small vessel approaching our position. Not Veari, not one of the usual patrols." Telion's eyes narrowed. "Identify it." Marin studied the readings. "The technology is unfamiliar. No known Veyari design. They are not from any hostile species recorded in our archives. They may be new. Tellion's heart skipped. In centuries, no new civilizations had bothered to reach this part of the galaxy. The Veyari were abandoned for good reason. Too weak, too small, too unimportant to others. Yet now a vessel was approaching. As the ship drew nearer, its design became visible through the observation screens. Sleek, angular, with a polished surface that caught the dim starlight. It was unlike anything Tellion had seen before. The vessel carried no weapons on its hull, no signs of aggression, and yet it moved with purpose, guided by intelligence. Could it be a scout? Delira asked as she joined them at the deck. Or a spy from another empire? Tellion shook his head slowly. I do not know, but it is incurious. Perhaps for the first time in centuries, the galaxy has noticed us. The Veyari Council convened once more, this time with tension mingled with cautious hope. The approaching ship hailed them using a universal translator, a device long forgotten by the Veyari but somehow understood by this new species. Greetings, the voice said, calm and firm. We have received your distress signals. We are humans, explorers, and friends. We come to help. The words echoed in the chamber like a promise. The Veyari stared, unsure whether to trust the newcomers. Humans were unknown, young in the galaxy, and their motives unclear, yet the tone carried a weight that demanded attention. Tellion's hands trembled slightly. Help humans? He repeated. After centuries of abandonment, why? The human captain's message continued. Because no civilization should vanish while others can help. We have resources, knowledge, and courage. We wish to share them. We wish to save your people. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Some were skeptical. Others were silent, tears forming in eyes long dry from despair. Delira finally spoke, voice steady. Perhaps this is the chance we have waited for. Perhaps we are not yet finished. Tellion looked out at the approaching vessel again, its hull shining softly in the dim light of EpicSciFiTales. For centuries, the Veyari had been abandoned and alone. But now, a spark had returned, a flicker of hope brought by a species they had never known. The council knew this would be the beginning of something new. It was uncertain, dangerous, and full of unknowns, but for the first time in generations, the Veyari felt alive. In the quiet of the orbital station, with the planet below still dying, a single truth shone through. Even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, life could find help where it was least expected, and perhaps, just perhaps, survival was still possible. As the human ship drew closer, Tellion whispered to himself, maybe, just maybe, we are not yet lost. The human ship, sleek and gleaming, floated closer to the Veyari orbital station. Its hull reflected the fading light of EpicSciFiTales, cutting through the darkness like a blade. On board, Captain Elias Grant and his crew prepared to make first contact. They had seen many strange worlds in their journeys, but none as abandoned and fragile as this. Sensors show minimal life signs, Captain, reported Lieutenant Mira, her eyes scanning the holographic display. They are surviving, but barely. Their station is failing. If we don't act fast, we may arrive too late. Elias nodded, his expression calm but determined. We won't let that happen. Prepare the landing teams. We are here to help, not judge. Remember, trust is fragile. We need to earn it. Meanwhile, aboard the station, Commander Tellion and the Council debated the human arrival. Some were wary. The Veyari had been betrayed before, deceived by allies who promised aid only to exploit them. The younger members, like Delira and Kale, felt excitement tinged with fear. Should we open the docks? Tellion asked, glancing at the view of the approaching vessel. What if they are enemies in disguise? Delira shook her head. They hail us peacefully. Their technology, it is advanced, yes, but I sense no threat. Maybe we should take the chance. We cannot remain alone forever. After tense deliberation, Tellion gave the order. Open the docking bay. Let them in, but remain cautious. The massive doors of the station creaked as they slowly parted. The human ship aligned perfectly with the bay, its landing gear extending with quiet precision. Lights illuminated the empty corridors of the station, highlighting decades of neglect and decay. The first humans to step inside were cautious but friendly. They wore light suits that adjusted to the station's failing atmosphere, and their eyes shone with curiosity and determination. Captain Elias led them forward, his hands open in a universal gesture of peace. We are here to help, Elias said in a clear voice. "We do not wish to harm you. We have supplies, medical aid, and tools to repair your station. We only ask for your trust." The Veyari stared, a mixture of suspicion and wonder in their eyes. They had not seen kindness in centuries. Some murmured quietly to each other, questioning the humans' motives. Others, especially the younger generation, were fascinated by these strangers who spoke with confidence and empathy. Delira stepped forward. You are offering aid? Why? We are nearly extinct. No one else has cared for centuries." Elias smiled gently. "Because every species deserves a chance to survive. Strength is not only in weapons or fleets, but in helping others. We cannot watch life fade when we have the power to protect it." Talion studied the humans carefully. There was sincerity in their eyes, something unfamiliar but undeniable. Slowly he nodded. "Very well. We accept your help. But know this. We are fragile and we have been abandoned for generations. One mistake, and we may never recover." Elias inclined his head. "We understand. We will proceed carefully." The humans immediately began their work. They brought supplies and set up temporary life support systems. They repaired the station's failing engines and restored communication arrays. Slowly, the station that had been dark and silent for decades began to hum with energy once more. Kale watched them with wide eyes. He had grown up in shadows, knowing only loss and fear. Now he saw machines spring to life, lights flicker on, and corridors fill with activity. Are they really helping us?" he whispered to Delira. "Yes," she replied softly, her own heart lifting. "They are. For the first time I feel hope." As days passed, trust between the humans and Veyari grew. The humans did not rush or demand obedience. They shared knowledge of engineering and medicine, showing the Veyari how to repair their ships and harness energy more efficiently. They listened to the Veyari stories of past glories and failures, treating the history of a dying civilization with respect. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Captain Elias sat with Talion in the observation deck. The planet below was still gray and broken, but the lights of the station glimmered now like small beacons of life. "You have a remarkable history," Elias said quietly. "It is a shame so much was lost. But it is not too late. Your people can still thrive," Talion sighed. "We have survived wars, betrayals, and decay. Yet I fear we are too small, too weak. Other empires will not notice us, or if they do, they will see us as prey." Elias leaned forward. "Sometimes the galaxy underestimates the small, the weak, or the abandoned. But history shows that determination, courage, and cooperation can change everything. Humanity was once underestimated too. Yet here we are exploring the stars, standing for others. You can rise again if you choose to." Talion considered the words. They were bold, almost naive, but also stirring something long buried. "And if we fail, then we try again," Elias replied simply. "Failure is not the end. Doing nothing is." Meanwhile, across the station, the younger Veyari began to interact more with the humans. They learned quickly, adapting to new tools and methods. Kale and a group of peers watched as humans repaired old ships. They asked questions, learned how to operate energy cores, and even laughed at small human jokes that were new to their ears. "This is incredible," Kale said one evening. "We haven't seen anyone like them. They do not judge, they only help," Delira smiled. "They are different from what we expected. Perhaps we have been wrong to believe we are forgotten." The first signs of real hope began to appear. Abandoned ships were repaired, life support systems stabilized, and the station's communications began transmitting signals into the galaxy again. The Veyari sent messages of their existence, not demands or warnings, but simple broadcasts of life and survival. However, not all attention was welcome. The humans' aid caught the notice of nearby empires, raiders and opportunists, sensing a weakened civilization gaining assistance, prepared to strike. It was a reminder that survival would not come easily. One day, alarms blared across the station. A small fleet of hostile ships appeared on sensors, closing in quickly. The Veyari panicked, but the humans remained calm. Captain Elias organized defense teams, combining human technology with Veyari ships. Despite the station's weakened state, they prepared to defend it together. The battle that followed was tense but brief. Humans coordinated the defense with precision, using clever maneuvers and energy shields to protect the station. Veyari ships, repaired just days earlier, fought bravely alongside the humans. Though outnumbered, they held their ground. When the attackers finally retreated, the Veyari cheered. It was the first victory in decades, not just over enemies but over despair itself. Commander Telion stood at the observation deck, watching the retreating ships. For the first time he felt the weight of hope rather than sorrow. "They came for us when no one else would," he murmured to Delira. "Perhaps we are not alone in this galaxy after all." Elias approached, smiling. "You are not alone, and you never will be. As long as you fight to survive and accept help when it is offered, together we can rebuild, together we can thrive." That night the station was alive in a way it had not been for centuries. Humans and Vayari shared meals, stories, and laughter. The younger generation explored the repaired corridors, dreaming of a future that had seemed impossible just days ago. Kyle, standing beside a human engineer as she repaired a power core, whispered, "I never thought I would see this." "Life again," she smiled, handing him a tool. "Life finds a way, especially when someone chooses to help." As the station floated above a broken world, a new truth began to take hold in the hearts of the Vayari. They were no longer abandoned. They were no longer alone, and perhaps, just perhaps, survival was within reach, not because of their past glories, but because humans had chosen to stand with them. The flicker of hope that entered the station now burned brighter than any light in the dark. The galaxy might still be cruel, the threats might still be many, but the Vayari had found a new ally. And in the vast expanse of space, sometimes a single friend could change everything. The orbital station of Arentis Prime had transformed from a shadow of the past into a hub of renewed life. Lights glimmered along the repaired corridors, the hum of energy systems filled the air, and the once empty docks were now lined with ships, some repaired Vayari vessels, and some human hybrid designs. The atmosphere was vibrant with purpose. Commander Telion walked through the main engineering bay, observing the collaboration between humans and Vayari. Where there had once been distrust, there was now determination. Engineers, scientists, and young cadets moved with focused energy, repairing old systems, building new ones, and learning from one another. "Look at them," Delira said beside him, her eyes following Kyle and other young Vayari working with humans on a new energy stabilizer. "We thought our people were lost, but they are alive, learning, creating." "Yes," Telion replied quietly, "and for the first time in generations, I feel our strength returning. This is more than survival. This is rebirth." Captain Elias Grant moved through the station alongside Lena and other human engineers. Their presence had become a constant support, a bridge between the past and the future. The humans continued teaching, guiding, and innovating with the Vayari, never taking control, but inspiring the aliens to reclaim their lost potential. One of the major projects was the reconstruction of the Vayari fleet. Using hybrid designs that combined the speed and agility of traditional Vayari ships with human energy shields and modular systems, the fleet began to take shape. Each ship represented not only technology but hope, courage, and the promise of survival. Kyle worked tirelessly on one of the hybrid ships, adjusting energy conduits and recalibrating engines. Lena watched him carefully. "You've got a talent for this," she said. "Your people created amazing technology in the past. Now with teamwork we're bringing it back." Kyle smiled, a mix of pride and excitement on his face. "I never thought I'd see this day. We're really building the future." Even as hope grew, the Vayari knew the galaxy would not remain indifferent. Intelligence reports from human scouts revealed that some rival empires had noticed the resurgence of the once-abandoned race. Opportunistic species had started observing the region, calculating potential attacks. The Vayari understood that their survival would depend not only on rebuilding, but on preparedness, vigilance, and alliances. Telion convened the council once more. "We have gained strength," he said, "but strength alone will not keep us alive. We must combine it with strategy, wisdom, and the lessons humans have taught us. Our future depends on courage, not fear." Delira nodded. "We have allies now. Humans have shown us the power of cooperation. Perhaps the galaxy will respect us not only for our knowledge but for our resilience." Under the guidance of humans, the Vayari began a program of exploration. Small fleets were sent to abandoned colonies to recover archives, technology, and other valuable resources. Each mission brought back fragments of the past: maps, scientific research, and engineering schematics. Slowly, the Vayari's knowledge and culture were restored. One expedition team discovered a hidden library in a long-abandoned colony. Ancient scrolls, star charts, and holographic records revealed advanced propulsion systems and forgotten scientific breakthroughs. Kale and Delira pored over the findings, amazed at the ingenuity of their ancestors. These designs could revolutionize our fleet, Delira said. We can reach planets that were once thought lost forever. Telian, standing beside her, nodded. And we will. But this time we are not alone. We have guidance, support, and courage. We will face the galaxy as equals. The process of rebuilding was not without challenges. Supply shortages, technical malfunctions, and the lingering fear of attacks tested both humans and Veyari. Yet each obstacle strengthened their bond. Working together, they discovered solutions that neither species could have achieved alone. One morning, alarms sounded across the station. Sensors detected a fleet of unknown ships approaching rapidly. Fear rippled through the Veyari. But humans and Veyari alike responded with calm precision. Hybrid fleets, newly built and equipped, mobilized to intercept the approaching vessels. Stay focused, Elias shouted. We protect the station. We protect each other. The battle that followed demonstrated the power of unity. Human tactics combined with Veyari agility to outmaneuver the attackers. Energy shields absorbed heavy fire while coordinated strikes disabled enemy engines. For the first time, the Veyari realized their fleet was capable not only of survival but of defending its people. After the attackers retreated, the station celebrated. The Veyari cheered, their voices echoing through corridors that had once been silent. Telian stood on the observation deck watching the horizon. For centuries, he had feared the end of his people. Now he saw a future filled with possibility. This is only the beginning, he said softly to Delira. Our people have survived. We have learned. We have hope. The galaxy will see us again, not as weak remnants, but as a race that refused to vanish. Human crews continued their work, but they also took time to celebrate the victories of the Veyari. Shared meals, music, and storytelling became common. Through laughter and conversation, trust deepened. The Veyari discovered that strength came not only from technology, but from the courage to trust and cooperate. Kyle stood beside Elias one evening, gazing at the repaired fleet in the docks. Captain, he said, I used to think our people were doomed. Now, I believe we can rise again. Not just survive, but thrive. Elias smiled. You've got the right idea. Survival is only the first step, thriving. That takes vision, courage, and unity. And I see all of that in your people. Delira joined them, her expression resolute. We will honor the gift of hope you brought us. Humanity did not just save us. You reminded us of our own strength. Now it is time to reclaim our place in the stars. As weeks turned into months, the Veyari expanded their operations. Hybrid fleets became more advanced. Exploration missions reached farther into space, and communication networks restored contact with distant colonies. Where there had once been isolation, there was now connection and coordination. The influence of humans also inspired new ideas. The Veyari began integrating human philosophy with their own traditions, creating a culture that valued cooperation, empathy, and resilience. They taught each other, learned from one another, and celebrated both successes and failures as opportunities to grow. Even the young generation thrived. Kale, Delira, and their peers became capable pilots, engineers, and leaders. Their skills, honed under the guidance of humans, allowed them to take responsibility for the future of their people. Where fear had once dominated, confidence now grew. But the galaxy remained unpredictable. While the Veyari rebuilt, other civilizations observed quietly. Some were curious, others wary. The resurgence of a once-dying race could not go unnoticed. The Veyari understood that while survival was within reach, the challenges of diplomacy, defense, and exploration were only beginning. One evening, as the station floated above the recovering planet, Telian addressed a gathering of both Veyari and human leaders. We have risen from the ashes of our past. We have rebuilt our strength and our spirit. But this is only the start. The galaxy is vast and full of challenges. We will face them not alone, but together, with courage, wisdom, and unity. Elias nodded in agreement. The Veyari have proven that determination and cooperation can overcome despair. Humanity will continue to stand with you as allies, as friends, and as partners in the stars. A wave of quiet determination swept through the assembly. For the first time in generations, the Veyari did not feel like relics of the past. They felt alive, strong, and capable of shaping their destiny. Kyle stood beside Delira, looking out at the fleet of hybrid ships. "We are no longer abandoned," he whispered. "We are not alone." Delira smiled, her eyes reflecting the lights of the station and the stars beyond. "Yes, and we will show the galaxy that the Veyari are not to be forgotten. Our story is just beginning." The bond between humans and Veyari had transformed both civilizations. Together they had repaired more than ships and systems. They had rebuilt hope, courage, and trust. And in the darkness of space, where empires rose and fell, a once-abandoned race now stood strong, ready to reclaim its place among the stars. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but the Veyari had learned a powerful truth. Survival and greatness were possible when courage, cooperation, and friendship guided every step. And with humans as their allies, they would face the challenges ahead with unshakable determination. The stars above Arentis Prime glimmered brightly, reflecting the promise of a new dawn. For the first time in centuries, the Veyari dared to dream, not just of survival but of thriving. And the humans who had chosen to stand beside them smiled quietly, knowing that together they had changed the course of a civilization. Days turned into weeks, and the Veyari orbital station slowly transformed. Where there had once been silence and despair, there was now movement, purpose, and cautious optimism. Humans and Veyari worked side by side, blending knowledge, skills, and hope into every repair and construction project. Commander Telian walked through the main engineering bay, observing humans calibrating energy systems and Veyari adjusting older equipment. The hum of machinery and the soft chatter of collaboration felt almost like music to his ears. "I never thought I would hear life in these halls again," he muttered to Delira, who followed beside him. "The humans are remarkable," she replied. "Not just their technology, but the way they treat us as equals. It has been centuries since anyone saw value in our people." Meanwhile, Captain Elias Grant moved through the corridors, observing the Veyari adapting quickly to human methods. Unlike many other species in the galaxy, humans had no expectation of superiority. They taught, guided, and worked alongside the Veyari. Their patience and willingness to collaborate slowly melted the walls of suspicion that had encased the alien race for generations. In a secure laboratory, human engineers demonstrated new energy techniques to a group of young Veyari engineers, including Kale. The boys and girls listened intently as Captain Elias's team explained how to convert solar energy efficiently and stabilize failing power cores. Kale's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "This is incredible," he said. "Our ancestors had the knowledge, but we lost it. You are showing us how to reclaim it." One of the human engineers, Lena, smiled. "We don't want to take credit. Your people invented amazing things. We're just helping you remember what you already know." Trust grew quickly. Where the Veyari had once hidden secrets and held back information, they now shared fragments of lost knowledge. In one of the council chambers, holographic maps of abandoned Veyari colonies flickered to life, showing planets long thought lost. "These maps," Delira whispered to Telian, "we could rebuild, perhaps even reach systems we thought were forever gone." Telian nodded, though he remained cautious. "Yes, but the galaxy is not silent. Other empires will notice our resurgence. Not all attention is friendly," he was right. In the outer reaches, rival species watched closely as the abandoned race began to repair itself. The humans' arrival, while unexpected, was a clear sign that the Veyari were no longer defenseless. Threats lurked, opportunistic and dangerous, waiting for a moment of weakness. One morning, alarms blared across the station. Sensors detected a fleet of small raider ships approaching rapidly. Panic surged among the Veyari. Many had never seen battle since the station fell into decline, and fear gripped their hearts. Elias moved quickly, gathering both human and Veyari defense teams. "Stay calm," he ordered. "We defend together. Do not panic. Your ships and your skills are more capable than you realize." The humans coordinated the Veyari ships in formations that maximized their strengths. Though small and old, the Veyari vessels were nimble. With human guidance, they created decoy maneuvers and protective shields around the station. Energy pulses lit up space as weapons fired in precise patterns, targeting only the raiders' engines while avoiding unnecessary destruction. Telian watched from the observation deck, heart pounding. For the first time, he felt not fear but determination. He saw the young Veyari operating their ships with renewed confidence, following instructions, adapting to new strategies, and fighting with courage that surprised even him. The battle was tense, but the alliance between humans and Veyari held firm. The raiders, frustrated by unexpected resistance, retreated. Cheers erupted across the station. For the Veyari, it was more than just a victory. It was proof that they could rise from centuries of abandonment. In the aftermath, humans and Veyari gathered in the council chamber. Telion spoke first, his voice steady. Today we saw what is possible when we work together. Our people have strength, yes, but your guidance has shown us how to use it again. Elias smiled. You did most of the work. We only helped you see what you already had. Never forget that. The galaxy underestimates the weak too easily, but we know that even the smallest spark can light a fire. Delira stepped forward, addressing both humans and Veyari. I feel different now. For decades we thought our story was ending. Now I believe it is only beginning. Perhaps this is the first chapter of something greater. The next weeks were filled with collaboration, human technology integrated with Veyari ships, creating hybrid designs that combined the speed and agility of Veyari engineering with human durability and energy systems. Training programs were established, teaching Veyari crews not only to operate the new systems but to innovate upon them. In one lab, Kale worked alongside Lena, creating a prototype energy stabilizer. Sparks flew occasionally, but so did laughter and excitement. We're really doing this, Kale said, eyes wide with wonder. We're making something new. Together? Yes, Lena replied. Innovation is always better when ideas are shared. That is why humans and Veyari can accomplish so much side by side. Outside, the orbital station began to shine like a beacon. Its lights, once weak and flickering, now glowed with steady brightness. The repaired ships lined the docks, ready for exploration or defense. Communication signals reached further into the galaxy than they had in decades, announcing the Veyari's renewed presence. But even as hope grew, challenges remained. Some council members still whispered doubts. Are we moving too fast? One asked. The galaxy will not forgive weakness, Telion responded calmly. The galaxy may be cruel, but inaction is worse. We cannot remain abandoned any longer. We have allies now, and we must act with courage. One evening, Delira joined Telion on the observation deck. Below, the gray surface of Arentis Prime reflected the light of the station like a pale mirror. Do you think other civilizations will trust humans as we do? She asked. Telion studied the stars. Perhaps not yet. But humans do not act for trust alone. They act because they believe in the value of life and the worth of helping others. That is why they have touched our hearts. That is why we can survive. Meanwhile, humans and Veyari continued exploring abandoned colonies. They discovered ancient libraries and technological caches, remnants of the Veyari's golden age. Slowly, the secrets of their past were restored. Humans did not take control. They encouraged the Veyari to reclaim their heritage. Kale discovered a hidden archive filled with star maps and engineering schematics. This could rebuild our fleet, he whispered to Delira. We can reach planets we thought were gone forever. Delira smiled, her eyes reflecting both hope and determination. Yes, and this time we will not be abandoned. We will face the galaxy together. The bond between humans and Veyari strengthened further when a diplomatic envoy from a neighboring empire arrived. Suspicious and wary, the outsiders questioned the humans' presence. But the Veyari, newly confident, stood tall. Humans came to help us when no one else would, Telion declared. We are not weak. We are not forgotten, and we will not allow fear to dictate our future. The humans stood silently beside the Veyari, their presence a powerful symbol of solidarity. The envoy left with a mixture of respect and caution, realizing that the Veyari were no longer the defenseless race they had once assumed. By the end of Part 3, the Veyari had begun to see themselves not as victims of history, but as active participants in shaping their destiny. Human intervention had ignited something more than survival. It had awakened pride, courage, and the determination to thrive. Kale, standing on the observation deck with Delira and a group of young Veyari, looked at the stars. For the first time, I do not fear the galaxy, he said. We have a chance. We can rise again, Delira placed a hand on his shoulder. Yes, and we will. Not alone, but together, with humans by our side and with our own strength renewed. Captain Elias Grant, observing the scene from nearby, felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had not only saved a species, they had rekindled hope. awakened lost knowledge and inspired courage. The bond between humans and Veyari was no longer temporary aid. It was a partnership, a friendship forged in adversity and trust. And in the vast darkness of space, where civilizations rose and fell like tides, one small alliance began to shine brightly, proving that the galaxy could be changed by cooperation, courage, and the unwavering refusal to abandon those in need. The stars above HFY sparkled with clarity, casting pale light on a planet slowly healing from centuries of neglect. From orbit, the rebuilt Veyari station gleamed like a beacon, its hybrid fleet ready to defend and explore. For the first time in generations, the Veyari felt strong, not only physically but in spirit. Commander Telion stood on the observation deck, watching the lines of ships aligned with precision. His heart swelled with pride. "Look at what we have achieved," he said to Delira, who stood beside him. Our people are alive." Delira's eyes reflected the lights of the fleet. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. The galaxy still watches. We must prove that the Veyari can not only survive but thrive." Captain Elias Grant joined them, his human presence calm and steady. "You have already done more than survive," he said. "You have learned, rebuilt, and embraced unity. That is something no enemy can take from you. Now we must ensure the galaxy knows it." A sudden alert broke the moment. Sensors had detected a fleet of unknown vessels moving rapidly toward HFY. The readings were aggressive. These ships were armed, coordinated, and fast. It was clear the galaxy was not yet ready to leave the Veyari alone. "This is it," Telion said, his jaw tight. "Our first real test as a reborn civilization." Elias nodded. "We've prepared. Your fleet has strength, your crews have training, and together we can face this. Trust your instincts and your people. We are ready." The Veyari fleet mobilized, engines glowing as ships leapt into formation. Hybrid vessels, sleek, fast, and resilient, lined the docks alongside repaired Veyari ships. Humans coordinated defenses, shared tactical insights, and guided strategy. For the Veyari, it was the first battle they fought not as abandoned survivors but as equals with an ally. The attackers arrived swiftly, their fleet dark and menacing against the stars. The Veyari fleet met them head-on, forming a protective line around the station. Energy pulses streaked across space as weapons fired, shields glimmered under impact, and the two sides clashed in a brilliant display of light and motion. Kyle, piloting one of the hybrid ships, felt adrenaline surge. "Stay focused," he shouted to his wingmates. "We protect the station. We protect our people." Delira piloted alongside him, her ship agile and precise. "Remember what we learned," she said. "Work together. Trust each other. That is our strength." The battle was fierce, but the humans' guidance, combined with the Veyari's ingenuity, turned the tide. The attackers underestimated the coordination and resilience of the newly rebuilt fleet. Strategic maneuvers drew the enemy into traps, and energy shields absorbed heavy fire, while precise counterattacks disabled their weapon systems. In the midst of combat, Telion observed from the observation deck, his heart racing. "We can do this," he whispered. "Our people are strong, stronger than anyone realized." Minutes turned into hours, and slowly the enemy began to retreat. The hybrid fleet pursued just enough to prevent further attacks, then fell back to regroup. For the first time in centuries, the Veyari had defended their home successfully, not as a dying civilization, but as a force to be reckoned with. Cheers erupted across the station. The Veyari celebrated not only victory, but their renewed place in the galaxy. "We are alive!" Kale shouted, his voice carrying through the comms. "We are not abandoned. We are not alone." Delira smiled, her eyes glistening. "And we never will be. Together, we can face anything." In the following days, the Veyari began expanding their presence further. Exploration teams, supported by humans, reached distant systems, reclaiming lost colonies and restoring communication networks. Each discovery brought fragments of culture, technology, and history that had been forgotten. Libraries were reopened, archives restored, and scientific research resumed. Telion stood in the central hall of the station, addressing both Veyari and humans. "We have faced the void and emerged victorious. We have rebuilt what was thought lost, and we have learned an important truth. The galaxy may challenge us, but our courage, unity, and determination will define our destiny." Elias joined him, smiling. The Veyari have proven that no civilization is too small, too broken, or too abandoned to rise again. Humanity is honored to have stood with you, but the real heroes are your people, who refuse to accept extinction. The alliance between humans and Veyari became a symbol across the galaxy. Other species watched with curiosity and respect. Some approached to learn, others to trade, but all recognized that the Veyari were no longer a forgotten race. They had risen from despair to strength, guided by courage, ingenuity, and the unexpected aid of humans who believed in them. Kyle and Delira stood side by side, looking at the fleet from the observation deck. "Do you think the galaxy will accept us now?" Kyle asked. Delira placed a hand on his shoulder. "They will have to. We have shown that the Veyari are strong, that we fight for our people, and that we will not vanish. Humanity gave us help, but it was our courage and resilience that truly saved us." The human crew celebrated quietly, knowing their mission had succeeded beyond expectations. They had not only saved a dying species but had inspired a rebirth of culture, science, and pride. Elias looked at the Veyari leaders and smiled. "You have built more than a fleet. You have built a future, and that is something no enemy can ever take away." As the sun rose over Arentis Prime, the planet below began to glow with renewed life. Forests, slowly regenerating, reflected the first hints of green. Rivers flowed once more, carrying hope across the cracked landscapes. The orbital station, a symbol of survival and unity, stood bright against the dark backdrop of space. Telion gazed at the horizon. "For centuries we were abandoned and alone, but now we are not. We have friends. We have allies. We have hope." Delira nodded. "And our story is only beginning. Together with humans, we will explore the galaxy, reclaim our past, and build a future worth fighting for." Kyle added, his voice filled with awe. "We will rise, not because no one has opposed us, but because we refuse to give up. Humanity showed us that even the smallest spark can ignite the stars." Elias placed a hand on Telion's shoulder. "Remember this moment. It is proof that compassion, courage, and cooperation can change the course of a civilization. Your people are alive because you chose to rise, and we are proud to have stood with you." The Veyari had learned that survival was not merely enduring. It was building, creating, and inspiring. And they had learned that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, friendship and courage could turn despair into hope. From that day forward, the Veyari were no longer a race in hiding, forgotten by time and the stars. They were explorers, builders, and warriors united with humans and ready to face any challenge. The galaxy, vast and unpredictable, had witnessed a remarkable transformation. A species once abandoned and alone now thrived, their fate forever intertwined with humanity's courage and compassion. In the observation deck, Telion looked out at the stars with a quiet smile. "We are alive," he said softly, "and we will remain so. Not because the galaxy allowed it, but because we chose to stand, to fight, and to hope." Delira joined him, her eyes shining. "The Veyari will never forget this, and we will ensure that every corner of the galaxy knows humanity is strong not only in power but in heart, and together we are unstoppable." Kale turned toward the fleet, a sense of pride and purpose burning in his eyes. "This is our time. The Veyari have returned, and the stars are ours to explore." Captain Elias looked at the young Veyari, his face calm and proud. "The galaxy is vast. Challenges will come, but you are ready. And remember, survival is not the end goal. Thriving together, standing with courage, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That is the true path of greatness." As Arentis Prime shone beneath them, and the fleet prepared to depart on exploration missions, the station hummed with life, hope, and determination. Humanity and the Veyari had changed the course of history together, proving that even in the darkest moments, courage, cooperation, and friendship could create a new dawn. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but for the first time in centuries, the Veyari faced them without fear. They were no longer abandoned. They were no longer alone. And with humans standing beside them, they had the power to shape their destiny among the galaxies, and so, a new era began, a dawn of hope, unity, and resilience that would echo across the stars for generations to come.